Hey, welcome to For the Story. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get out a new episode this week. Avery is moving in with his lady friend. Let's all give him a round of applause. Uh, and so we just had a little bit of difficulty finding the time to get everything recording. This is Ash, by the way. Just wanted to remind you guys who I am. Uh, so I just wanted to generally say we're going to put out a double header next week. So you guys don't have to worry about losing out on content. We're going to make sure that you're still accounted for. But for this episode, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of content by giving you my initial reactions to the Miss Marvel, to the Captain Marvel trailer. As you all know, I'm a very big Marvel fan. I have been for a very long time. I grew up with the comics. Cried when Stan Lee died. All that good stuff. So I'm gonna kind of cover three basic things. My initial reaction to the trailer itself. I'm going to dispute all the things that people are complaining about for this film, and then I am going to talk about my concerns. So in terms of the trailer itself, it starts out with Carol Danvers as, I don't know if she's going by Captain Marvel at this point, or if she goes as Kar-El, which is what you'd call Carol Danvers in the Cree language. But she's fighting a Skrull on the subway. Looks like a really awesome scene. Just seeing like an old lady flying around, flipping around like she does is a really cool sight. I love it. But a lot of things that this brings up in terms of questions for me is it looks very similar to Brie Larson if she was in like old lady prosthetics. So I'm wondering if part of the reason why Carol Danvers returns to Earth is because a Skrull has taken over her life on Earth following her departure into Kree space. So that should be an interesting thread to look at. I really love how deadpan she is in this trailer. I think that it's going to play really well off of what we've seen so far to be kind of a sassy and much more upbeat Nick Fury compared to what we've seen him in Winter Soldier and a bunch of the other films. So that should be really fun. The Kree homeworld looks gorgeous. I really love the set design, all the cubic nature of it, all the awesome light colors. It looks like a much better Asgard. We see that they're kind of keeping things relatively similar, except for she's not actually born of Marielle and her father, who I think is Joe Danvers, but she is half Kree in this capacity. They've given her Kree blood to give her this ability of energy manipulation. It looks really fantastic from what we've seen so far. Probably the highlight for me of this entire trailer is just the way that she takes off her mask, Opa Star-Lord style, and the hair comes down. I don't know what it is, but it's so cool. Her hair in general looks fucking awesome. I will say, I was concerned when Brie Larson first came onto the film. She's a very skinny lady, and, while that's fine and it's totally explainable by her superpowers, that she would have super strength, I'm glad that she does seem to have like a very strong physical presence, and she seems like she got in really good shape. I know she can, do push-ups with more weight on her back than I can, and I'm freaking jacked, so I'm pretty stoked. She looks awesome in this character. I love how they're kind of playing her. She's almost like a female Winter Soldier, where it's just like so dead. And because it's a bunch of different things, and I'll talk about it more when I get into discussing what people's complaints are about her character, and I'll get to that then. Jude Law as Marvel, but I've heard other points that maybe it's not Marvel, but the nukes, the red and blue suit looks unreal. Her energy manipulation powers look great, and I love the scene of her flying through space. It seems like the CGI isn't rendered, which is a bit of a concern for me because Samuel L. Jackson de-aged looks so fantastic. And it is very uncanny valley, but I have to admit, I was, blown away when I saw her flying through space, just ripping through ships like fucking binary, just full binary mode, going at them, flying through space, spinning around, giving a cheeky little wink to the camera, pretty much. It looks awesome. I will say, if they get that uncanny valley nature of her face kind of fixed in post here before this film comes out, I think that we're going to see some really incredible cosmic Marvel, and that's what I'm really excited about. So getting into what people have been complaining about with this film, number one, they're mad that Marvel isn't the Captain Marvel, which is something I think is a little ridiculous. As that mantle has been passed around, it's been a majority women. I forgot to mention earlier, they have like a slight homage to what's-her-face, Monica Rambeau, but it's Maria Rambeau, who I can't remember if that's a mother, but you know, as comic book fans will know, Monica Rambeau, Black Louisianan, who was Captain Marvel for a bit, but also went by Photon and one other name when people kept taking her name. And she had the ability to turn into any kind of energy matter, so I'm wondering if they're setting that up, which is awesome, but also a disappointment, because I've been really wanting Kamala Khan, but I can imagine with, you know, people getting pissed that Carol Danvers is Captain Marvel, they won't be so happy that there's like a Pakistani Islamic, you know, Muslim teenager who's honestly got the best modern comics out there right now. I can see why they're not going all in for that, but at the same time, I would have really preferred that story-wise and character-wise, representation-wise, all those good things. At the same time, you need someone who's really powerful for this transition they're making, not only to Cosmic Marvel, but also in defeating Thanos and possibly seeing someone of the caliber of Galactus or Kang, who are very different, but still huge enemies of the Avengers, Alpha Flight, all these different groups, and either one I'd love to see on the big screen. So anyway, the complaints about Captain Marvel not being Marvel. You know, a majority of the reincarnations of Captain Marvel following his Marvel's death in 1984, even though he's been brought back for select comics, they've been women. And Captain Marvel has been mostly women throughout its tenure, and Carol Danvers is probably the most recognizable one at this point. You know, former Air Force pilot. She's very cool. Her dealing with her amnesia. And especially the outcomes of the Kree-Skrull War are a lot more compelling, in my opinion, than what they were doing with Marvel. Those who don't know about Marvel, a big thing in his story was he found out while fighting this Kree-Skrull War coming to Earth that the Kree had bad intentions for Earth, and subsequently he decided to become Earth's protector after he kind of rebelled against that idea of the Kree, and subsequently he became kind of a local hero and a real A-level hero for Marvel. But simultaneously, Carol Danvers is a lot more interesting because she does have that level of humanity, and I think that her level of humanity helps tie us into this kind of future of moving into Cosmic Marvel, where we can kind of slowly detach and understand these alien races that subsequently we're going to be seeing a lot more of as we get more into Cosmic Marvel. I'm hoping we get a Nova movie. Also, Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers' version, has been able to time travel, which is really cool. But beyond that, the idea that having Marvel as the lead in this movie would have not really worked now that we're looking at what else is coming out around that time. So as you might know, the month before, we're coming out with the film Shazam. A lot of people, well, some people do know this, but the original name of Shazam was Captain Marvel, and it was Billy Babson. And I've seen actually a lot of comments on a lot of different forums that are like, this isn't Billy Babson, why is it a girl now? And a lot of people are mad because of that, which is silly, but I can also see why now it makes the most sense that Carol Danvers is Captain Marvel, because if you had two male Captain Marvels, one in a film called Shazam, one called Captain Marvel, you get DC fanboys feeling like real piss. And you don't want to piss those guys off because they've got nothing better to do because they like DC. What else? A lot of people complaining that she's very deadpan in this movie and doesn't show a lot of emotions. Number one, she's in the middle of a war where any one of her friends could be a Skrull, a shape-shifting alien that can take on the memories, physicalities, and even to a certain extent the powers of whoever they decide to take over as a form. And also, we're going to learn a lot about Kree society in this film. And as we've seen thus far, people are like, oh, she never smiles. She never smiles. She doesn't really, like, does Jude Law? We haven't seen Jude Law smile. Why aren't we complaining about that? No, we're going to see something much more similar to Winter Soldier, I think, when Bucky is kind of full Winter Soldier mode, and he's not happy-go-lucky Bucky, even though happy-go-lucky Bucky doesn't really exist. I think that, Brie Larson is going to knock this out of the park. She was very excited for the part, and we've definitely seen a lot of commitment from her in her personal life, in her Instagram, that she did put a lot of thought into how she's portraying this character. And I think we're going to see it all culminate very well in Avengers 4. I think that people that don't like Captain Marvel are going to end up loving the character following Avengers 4. My concerns. I mentioned the CGI, uncanny valley look of her face during the space fight scene. That is worrisome to me, that they don't have that figured out as well as they do the de-aging process. I'm not sure why they made that choice. I suppose it would look far more obvious if, Nick Fury's CGI de-aging did not look as crisp, but I am concerned about that. I'm also a little disappointed that we're not seeing her entire backstory. Carol Danvers has had a lot of nicknames. She's been multiple different superheroes. She's had many crises of identity, whether it's being Miss Marvel or Warbird or Binary. She's had a really long and interesting history with, Marvel Comics. I think she appeared, when did she first appear? 68. So she's been around since 1968 and subsequently has gone through a massive changeover in how her entire power set works. Not her power set, but her story. And to kind of bring it all together, I guess my biggest concern going into this film is the amount of exposition of this trailer. I did not like being Kree are the good guys, Kree are the good guys, Skrull are the bad guys, or what's her face, the old elderly lady. Now I'm forgetting her name, but apparently she told my mom when I was a child that I was the most beautiful baby she'd ever seen. She wasn't wrong. I'm gorgeous. But that's besides the point. I think that all that exposition does not sound good. The line delivery on I'm going to end it doesn't sound great, but it does have a very sincere feeling like it was done for the trailer. Just the way that the audio is chopped up compared to some of the in-movie dialogue, it does sound like it's like in a booth. It doesn't sound like it was done with a boom on a soundstage or on set or even in post. Like it doesn't sound like it actually came from the movie. So my fears have been quelled for the most part in that regard. I was going to also speak about the Avengers 4 trailer that was supposed to drop today. Today is December 5th, but apparently it's going to be by the end of the week. So we'll see how that looks, and I'm sure Avery and I will discuss it next week. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. We're going to be reviewing The Man from Earth, cult classic from 2007, and we're going to give you another one. I'm going to try and make it Daredevil. Avery's not going to let me make it Daredevil. I know that all of us are kind of reeling from it being canceled, but I really do hope that they bring him into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or at least give him some kind of solace in the new Disney streaming service. I'm truly heartbroken at the loss of that show, one of the greatest shows to ever grace Netflix, and Netflix has been chasing that dragon pretty much ever since, and really failing at it. Besides, season 1 Jessica Jones, season 2 Luke Cage, and Punisher, I guess, and same with, I guess, the second season of Iron Fist. Defenders of shit, though. So yeah, we have all that to look forward to. We're going to get that double episode up. The first one, we're going to announce what we're doing for the month. We're going to be featuring a double feature, which is a first for us, where we're going to watch 2 new movies, and we're going to bring them up and compare and contrast them, talk about what they did right versus wrong, and I think it's going to be a fun little longer episode for you guys. We really appreciate you guys listening, and I'll see you guys next week. Love you, bye!